Hi guys, it's Kat Blake, and you, by the way, congratulations, have gotten through all of the videos. So if you had gone through the modules, you would have gotten information on legal, on financial, on real estate, on self-care, on parenting, and even sort of wrestling with the decision of if you should stay or if you should go in your marriage and in the introduction. So hopefully you got a ton of information, and I want to welcome you. This is actually a supplemental module that I added last minute. And basically what I'm talking to you about today is avoiding the 6 most common mistakes that people make in divorce. Because remember, my goal as your coach is to get you through divorce where you're saving money, you're saving your sanity, you're saving your ability to co-parent, and saving your integrity. So you're just getting through the process, being the best you can possibly get, and getting yourself on that road to recovery as quick as possible. So this one might be a little bit shorter, but I want to share this information with you because it's so very important. So the 6 mistakes, here we go. Mistake number 1 is my way or the highway. And we see this quite often, particularly people who are still processing their grief around getting through the divorce process. There's actually a new program that's in Texas where they mandate that both people in the partnership take a grief class before they start the legal proceedings. And they have found that this saves people tons of money through the financial process, right? Because what ends up happening is, you know, when we go through divorce, like I was talking about before, we're using that lizard brain, we're emotional, we're reactive, and oftentimes people are acting out through the court process and they end up hurting themselves really financially, but emotionally as well through the process, right? So my way or the highway is I am not signing this agreement unless it is my way on everything. The house, parenting, health insurance, life insurance, you name it, it doesn't matter what it is. The problem with that is when you do that is number 1, it sucks up the time, and the more time you're in the legal process, the more money you're spending. But sometimes it also takes the power out of your hands, because what will happen is the attorneys, if they're working in a negotiable kind of way, if they're mediating, is they're going to make a decision for you. And if it gets really bad, a judge might make a decision for you, or a GAL might make a decision for you. And I will speak to you about what a GAL is. It's a guardian ad litem. So when you're digging in your heels, you're not willing to negotiate anyway, the power ends up leaving you and being given and granted to somebody else. Remember, divorce is all about negotiation. The courts look at it like it's a business transaction, that's it. And everything gets thrown into the pot, absolutely everything that you have accumulated together as a couple. And then it becomes this process of, okay, you get this, I get this, you get this, I get this. So at the end of the day, you're splitting one home into 2. Nobody wins, and everybody has to give up something, okay? So know that. That's why divorce coaching helps, because I help you figure out what are the adamants, what are the things you absolutely cannot and will not give up on because they mean something. And meaning they mean something logically, not just emotionally. And what are the things that you are willing to negotiate on? Meaning that some of those things you're willing to negotiate on also require you often to step outside of your comfort zone. And that's where divorce coaching comes in and helps you, because you do that work with me, not with your attorneys, okay? So that was 1, my way or the highway. Number 2, I see this so much. It's betting it all on a new relationship, okay? So often, you know, someone might come into my office and say, you know what, I'm so tired of fighting with my ex. I'm exhausted. I just want to be divorced. I just want this to be done. I have grieved this relationship years before I even filed for divorce. And by the way, I met this perfect person. They're great. They're great with my kids. Totally the opposite of my ex. And I'm sitting there like, oh gosh, trying not to fall off the chair. A lot of people make this mistake, particularly women, and I'm not saying this to say sexist, but what ends up happening is then you agree to an agreement. And if this new relationship doesn't work out, and by the way, I know I'm going to sound like Debbie Downer right now, having somebody to support you emotionally as you get through your divorce, by the way, is an awesome thing. It's one of the protective factors against stress. Did you know that? It's awesome. But the statistics on those relationships are not really good, because people haven't done their full grieving process. They haven't taken in what they've learned from the relationship, and they haven't spent any time on their own. So what I see is people then go into court, they give away everything, thinking it's all right, my new partner's gonna take care of me. And I've seen situations where one of my female clients found out her boyfriend actually didn't even have any money. He had lied to her, and she ended up basically homeless with 2 children. Another situation where the relationship didn't work, and she had been a stay-at-home mom and didn't take that time to get back on her own feet, and she ended up living with relatives at the age of 50. So these are the things, because it's really, really hard, by the way, to go back and change your divorce agreement. You have to prove that there is a drastic change in circumstances to go back and amend or change it. And typically judges are in the business of wanting you to just stick with your original agreement. So this is why I urge people, please, mistake number 2, do not bet it all on a new relationship and give it all away. Okay? Protect yourself first. All right, still with me? Mistake number 3 is listening to the wrong people. So here's the thing. Your friends are awesome. Your family are awesome. And everybody is in the business of wanting to protect you and support you. And they probably understand how challenging and how difficult your ex is. The problem is when we go and talk to these people, our body literally inflames when we're talking about all of our anger and all of the stress of the divorce. Our heartbeat goes up, our blood pressure goes up, our oxygen decreases, our temperature goes up. We get into fight or flight mode, right? And so there's a couple things that can happen with that. It takes 2 hours to come back to baseline. I know we talked about that in self-care. But if we're walking around all day long, and I know I did it, I would get, I spoke to my attorney at 8 a.m. because it was cheaper to speak to him at that time, and I'd be inflamed from that. Then I would get kind of a provocative text from my ex at like 10, and that would make me mad. Then at lunchtime, I'm having to call the school because my daughter forgot something or is having a hard time in school. It was like I walked around all day stressed out. And talking to the people that loved me and thought they were being helpful just inflamed me. It made me worse. It made me less logical. It made me less level-headed. It did not help. Is it okay to talk about things? Absolutely. In measured doses, it's okay. But you can't let it consume you. Otherwise, it leads you down really bad paths as you're making decisions going through your divorce process, and it's physically unhealthy. There is a huge correlation between car accidents, job loss, and health conditions. Okay? I've had a couple clients that have experienced heart attacks as they're going through their divorce. It's that stressful. So be careful who you're talking to. The other thing is when you're talking to your friends and they're telling you things like, oh, girl, oh, bro. When I went through my divorce, this is what happened. I got A, B, and C. This is what you need to do. You need to ask for the same thing. So here's the thing. Every single divorce is different. Every judge is different. Every political environment of the court system is different, right? So you can't assume that just because one person has a divorce and it went one way, that yours is going to go absolutely the same way. You can't compare. There are so many factors in there that make divorce messy and complicated. How long people have been together? What's the 401k? What's their savings? What's the IRA? Are there trust funds involved? Are there wills involved? There's so many details that you often don't get the full presentation, and no divorce goes the same way, okay? So be careful who you talk to. Surround yourselves with positive people. Surround yourself with people who've made it through divorce and they're not negative anymore, right? They're not sitting around feeling so angry at their ex, they've moved on. And make those people your tribe and your role models. Listen to them, okay? Because they get all aspects of the divorce process. Okay, number 4. Abdicating decision-making. So I know that I did this myself when I was going through my divorce, because I was under the impression that my attorney just knew what was the right answer for me. And because of that, I really gave him a lot of power until I started to actually reel it back in and understand that this was my divorce, right? And that my attorney was only going to ask for what I asked for, that I was the one in control. So if you go out and you hire a bulldog attorney, and believe me, sometimes you need that kind of attorney because of your case, and that's something else I help people figure out, like what kind of attorney you need. But even if you hire the bulldog, right, and that attorney is known in the court system, that attorney is known for litigation, that attorney is known for winning their cases, they don't have to demolish your ex, okay? That's your decision, right? You can use that attorney's power and strength to get what you want, of course, and to be strong in negotiation. But your attorney works for you. You don't have to go, to 11 when you want to go to 4. So be in touch with what you want. Be in touch with the fact that you're the one in control of this process. It's not the attorneys, okay? The other thing that people do is they give all their power-making decision to the judge. So if I had $1 for every time someone says to me, you know what, I'm just gonna give in, and when I get in front of the judge is gonna see how awful my agreement is, and then he or she is going to fix it. And that's another step where I try not to fall off my chair, right? I'm gonna tell you something. Judges see thousands of cases a year. They hardly ever read your agreements. They glance over them, because by the time you get in front of the judge, usually most of your case is mediated or collaborated. It's done. 99% of cases are not settled in trial. They're settled between the attorneys before you get in front of the judge. So by the time you get in front of the judge, it's literally like, I tell people, it's almost like a Girl Scout ceremony. It's, the judge says, do you agree to this agreement? Both parties say yes or no. The judge will ask if you have worries about the other party parenting. You say yes or no, stamp, you're done. You're in and out within minutes, okay? If there are issues that are still sticky, the judge will either push you back in the process, which is gonna cost you more money, or the judge often will say, you know what, go out in the hallway. There's a lot of hallway deals that get made, and figure this out and come back in an hour and let me know what the answer is to this. This is why you see divorce agreements with pencil writing and handwriting, and because it's literally being negotiated up until the last minute. But attorneys, if they're good, are invested in you not going to trial, because trial is $10,000 right off the bat, okay? But don't trust the judge. The judge doesn't know you. The judge doesn't know your history. The judge is not going to look at your agreement and say, oh my gosh, this is so unfair. I can't believe you agreed to this. They don't, and I'm not saying this to put down judges, they don't care. They don't have the time to care. So don't give all of your power making to your attorneys nor to the judge. Plus, sometimes judges they're in bad moods. We just had a judge locally that retired, and I swear the whole last year she was on the bench, she was just pissed off at everybody, right? I would not trust somebody like that to be negotiating something that's gonna impact me the rest of my life, okay? So the next one is wanting guarantees and certainties. And that is a little bit like my way or the highway, right? But people will often ask for the craziest things in their divorce agreement. I have seen people ask for things such as, the children have to go to my great aunt's every Christmas at 2. I want it written into my divorce agreement that my soon-to-be ex will not bring a girlfriend or boyfriend around the children for the next 5 to 10 years. Like, really crazy things. You have to remember, by the way, that life moves forward post-divorce. It changes, and it's gonna change for both of you guys. So what happens if you've signed something in your agreement, and I have seen this written into agreements, by the way, where significant others are not allowed to come around the children for years? What happens if you meet somebody, right? This life happens, and it's fluid, and it keeps moving. Like, I saw a situation where the husband left, he had an affair, he had a girlfriend. The wife writes in the agreement, he cannot bring the girlfriend around for 4 years. Now that rule gets implemented on her end too. Well, the dad and the girlfriend end up breaking up. She ends up meeting somebody, and guess what? She can't bring that person around the children. And as a result, their relationship ends up faltering and not having the ability to grow, right? Because when you're dating post-divorce with children, that's part of the package, right? So these are the things that people write in that are absolutely crazy. So be realistic. Realize your life is going to change. The other person's life is going to change. You don't want to be signing something. And again, the other thing with this is sometimes then again, your power gets taken away from you because the attorneys are like, this is ridiculous. We have to come up with an answer. So don't have that happen to you. All right, and the last mistake is throwing in the towel. So I always say to people, divorce is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So even if you're the person initiating the divorce, even if you, like I said before, you've grieved years before you got divorced, you knew this is what you wanted, you were ready for it, you're ready to move on. It doesn't matter. The legal process takes time. In some states, there's actually quite a significant waiting period between filing and when you actually get in front of the judge. Every state does it a little bit differently because they don't want to make it too quick, right? We don't want everybody getting divorced quickly, right? So there's a process. Here in Massachusetts, you have to take a parenting class. There's usually a 4-way where you have meetings with the attorneys and both parties. So there's a whole legal process to it. And then just getting seen in front of the judge, by the way, can take months and months depending on timing. So what ends up happening is people get exhausted, particularly if you're dealing with the high conflict divorce where you have a lot of allegations being thrown your way. And they just throw in the towel. They just give up on everything. Usually what this means is that somebody's reserves are low. They don't have enough gas in the tank, literally, to keep running the marathon, right? So what I help people do is schedule some self-care, schedule some breaks from the divorce. Maybe take a week where you're not thinking about the divorce. Maybe take a day off once a week. Because otherwise what happens is you get worn down, your reserves are tanked, and then you end up just giving in. But again, we don't want you giving into an agreement that years down the road is going to cost you. It is a very costly, time-consuming, emotionally consuming process to go back and try to fix a divorce agreement that's sloppy or bad or just not good for you. It's not easy, okay? So again, that's where divorce coaching comes in. I help you deal with your emotions, but we move from the lizard brain into the logical part of the brain so that we can help you make the best decisions for yourself, your children, and your family. So I am here for you. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I actually want to let you know that we also have an online community. We have an online support group that will be starting again in the new year. And I am here for you. So if you guys have any questions, if you have anything you want to run by me, please, by all means, let me know. Let me review the 6 mistakes again so I know that you got them. My way or the highway, betting it all in a new relationship, listening to the wrong people, abdicating decision-making, wanting guarantees and certainties, and throwing in the towel. These are all things I absolutely will not let you do. Okay? Thanks for listening. Hope y'all are doing well. Love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.